Hey guys, Starcrap here, and I got another comic book review. This one I've been putting off for quite a long time, but I will be getting to it right now. And that would be the first two issues of the GoBot series. GoBot number 1 and GoBot number 2. Both of these have been written by written and drawn by Tom Scioli. Tom has done some great work in the comic book industry. What he's best known as fully capturing Jack Kirby style in almost all the details. One of his biggest hits was working with Joe Casey on Godland. Yep, I have the whole thing right here. Just look at some of that artwork. But the other thing he did with IDW, which got him with the GoBot series, was working on, with John Barber, the Transformers versus G.I. Joe mini-series, or maxi series, whichever, where basically it was his own self-contained universe, and it went nuts. It went all out, balls to the wall, like crazy. I plan reviewing that one someday, so we'll get to that eventually, but let's talk about how Tom decided to handle the GoBots. Alright, let's start with issue 1. Now, I'll be honest, I know very little about the actual GoBot show. I never really watched it. I was more of a Transformers guy, but from what I understand, it is, it is its own thing. There's a lot of parallels one can make, but to call it Transformers ripped off is actually a bit disingenuous, since the GoBot show was actually pushed into production to try and beat Transformers, so obviously they had no idea what Transformers were doing when they were coming up with it. But that being said, Tom Scioli actually comes into this with an interesting idea of basically having it be that GoBots are, from the appearance of things, human creations. Yeah. Not everyone has a GoBot. Plenty of people actually do have one, and we open up with one of them, Leader 1, who, if I recall right from the actual show, was the actual leader. He's a military jet helping out in the opening sequences in rescuing a bunch of hostages. We then follow another GoBot known as Scooter with his basically owner and keeper AJ. And when they go to meet up with, because AJ's in college, meet up with Professor Braxis. No idea if he's from the show or not, but he basically goes on mentioning how GoBots have changed every facet of their culture, and each one has their own unique, distinct personality. There's even ones who are assisting in space. And then was the transition we mentioned about one of the car drivers, the GoBot car drivers, known as Turbo, and Turbo. Yeah, any of you Turbo guys out there that see this, you can make all the memes you want. But anyway, Turbo and his owner Matt Hunter they basically won, and yeah, and Matt basically gets drunk. Man, he then meets up with this one gentleman, T. Coriander Banks, or TCB, and his GoBot Stretch. They basically lead Matt and Turbo into this arena where we're seeing GoBots fighting other GoBots. With one of them known as Scioli, who's a motorcycle, and yeah, he totally destroys one of these other GoBots to everyone's amusement. He then basically sees Scioli as who's next? Anyone? You know what? I kind of imagine him with the Starscream voice. Are there no GoBots in the house topping up to challenge Scioli? No one? I'm sorry, that just sounds like what I think it'll be Starscream's voice. But then he decides, no, you and the red. And everyone wants him to take part. And TCB's telling him, why don't you? And yeah, Matt's like, he's a fine racing bot. I'm not going to push it any further. But then the people decide to throw Matt in so that Scioli can then take it out on him. But then Turbo comes to the rescue, fights him off a little bit, then gets mad and they get out of there. Later on, Turbo and Matt bring the police over and reveals and that there are dead bodies and smashed up GoBots. And yeah, they realize it was a massacre. We then cut back to Leader 1 as they show up and they are informed about a victim of a renegade group of GoBots, who we then find out that there was a female GoBot that drove up. And basically, and the guy in there is basically saying, we're asking, where's your master? She takes offense, drives him around, knocks him around, and basically makes it clear, be like, I don't have a master. And then even says, you don't ride us. We ride you. And then they basically took everything. All the gas and all the money, everything. We then later cut back to Leader 1 as they are observing and they see a large group of the renegades driving along, led by Scioli. It basically leads into a very nice action sequence until they get brought down. They actually start fighting, but because he actually has a human side and Scioli is able to use that to his advantage, Leader 1 then tries to start to talk. And we find out that Scioli basically believes that they should nuke the humans, just keep any survivors for themselves. And then they all gang up on Leader 1 and steal any of the nuke codes from him, and then they decide, let's go take over the world. We later on cut to AJ and Professor Braxis as they're talking, and yeah, looking at Braxis, he does not look like a good fella at all. Basically then tricks AJ to go downstairs to see his GoBot, which looks like this alien bug-like thing. AJ freaks out, of course, and then Scooter comes to her rescue. Braxton tries to say it was a joke. Yeah, right. And then they come out and they find out so many of the GoBots are turning against their masters. The Asimov laws, or G-chip or whatever, has been overridden. And it ends with they wondering, is Scooter gonna hurt AJ? We then open the next issue up with a lot more of the damaging going on. A drill GoBot starts to turn on everyone because one of his friends got killed because they didn't seem to care. And he joins up. We then see him take out the power grid. Everyone's freaked out. And the GoBots are just turning on everyone, and we find out, nope, Scooter is AJ's friend. Would never hurt her, and so they keep driving off. They eventually meet up with Turbo and Matt, and as they start to get an understanding of what's going on, they realize, we need to do something. We can't just go lie low, which is what Matt was planning on. But then, and Matt tried to say, we should just let the police deal with it. Police GoBots show up, and yeah, they're just as corrupted as renegade as anyone else. We then cut to Leader 1 about to be thrown into a car crusher, but he somehow gets his way out of there and throws his two captors down there instead. Then we cut back as a car chase is going further with Turbo, Scooter, AJ, and Matt. And, well, just to further up something from last issue, Matt's an alcoholic and he decides, hey, let me get some booze, basically. And we're then seeing all other sorts of things going on with the GoBots attacking. These two of them playing catch with the humans, another one slaughtering a zoo, and the one most interesting of all was a guy who's on the ground hurt. A emergency medical GoBot arrives, picks him up, and decides to perform surgery on him. Yeah, he did. We then go to Tonka, of course, where one of them is and where some of the scientists, a worker there, is basically exclaiming, there isn't a problem with the chip or anything, and basically then also says, yeah, we don't want the benefit of chasing down a few strays, zero tolerance, please show yourselves out, but basically make it clear, yeah, not the issue here. Then we find, and then they decide, and as they are dealing, and where Leader 1 is dealing with a few other attacking GoBots, they find a human all strapped up in the power lines. Turbo and Scooter get him down. We find out it's TCB, and he reveals that it's all his fault. He hired GoBot experts to tinker with their bloodlust, hoping to make for better sport. He didn't know that the military was softening the first laws in some machines. And then it made the GoBots want to kill. Originally, it was supposed to make want to kill people under orders from a designated user. But instead, it's caused them to all just turn on everyone, including Stretch, which Matt then throws a whole bunch of Molotov cocktails at, leading to a Turbo to fight him. But Scooter gets captured at the same time. as they start taunting the poor guy. Scioli then shows up and he's about ready to chow down on AJ when she throws one of the other Molotov cocktails down his throat. Meanwhile, we see Braxton showing up with his GoBot just watching everything. Turbo then climbs his way back up after his fight, while Scioli is torturing poor Scooter. Basically saying, there's only one thing left to do since you already begged for mercy. Turbo then shows up, ready to fight Scioli. They charge, and Scioli wins. But then Leader 1 shows up, and it's a showdown between these two as they start to go GoBot against GoBot. The military shows up to help out a little bit. The two then fight, as we find when Leader 1 asks, how are you able to do all this? He then, and Scioli reveals, I wasn't born with the advantages you had. I had to work 10 times harder, make special modifications, things like that. The two continue to fight, during which Leader 1 tweaks and rips out his bottom jaw to put a new one on as they keep on fighting and fighting. Scioli doing extreme damage to Leader 1's face. But then Leader 1 gets the advantage by getting on top of Scioli, riding him into a wall, leaving him down for the count. As Leader 1 takes out his human to cradle. Then the people on both sides are basically saying, lead us, we can ride on the Capitol, take it for hours. And Scooter, we do as the humans say, that's the natural order. All this time you had Scioli pointing out, this is just the world you wanted. And now the issue ends with Leader 1 wondering, what do I do? Whose side do I lead? And that ends the second issue. One thing I want to make a little addendum to that I completely forgot is that I did not give much more praise to Tom Scioli's artwork. I love this guy's work. I look at him as basically Jack Kirby's true reincarnation. I know I mentioned somewhere else, but I really need to put emphasis on it. If you've ever looked at his work on, as I showed off before, Godland or Transformers vs. G.I. Joe and the like, this guy really is that amazing. I mean, just look throughout all this. This is him doing it all on his own. No Joe Casey, no John Barber. This is him, pure Tom Scioli working with a licensed product. And yeah, it could get wordy at times, but when you really look at the dialogue, it's serving the story. It's not just all creative prose. He's trying to cram in what he can, because that's what he does. He loves to cram stuff in. And again, I just love this guy's work. I mean, just look at all this. It is both when it's talking, you still feel something. When it's actiony, it's really going through. And yeah, again, it feels decompressed, but you don't get a lot of decompressed stories these days. Yeah, I just wanted to put a little bit more because I realized I didn't gush enough about the guy's work. So yeah, even more reason to check out this guy's stuff. If you really love this kind of artwork, yeah, I could say it's a bit of an acquired taste, but believe me, it's a good taste to have. So that was GoBots number 1 and number 2, and I gotta say, it is a very, very interesting idea of taking the GoBots and doing something fresh without doing the whole, they're fighting a group, and they are fighting a group of evil GoBots, but they're not like the Autobots and Decepticons where they're on space or anything. We find out, especially in the second issue, at least so far, who knows, that might be another revelation later on, but apparently it was the humans who tried to make it more aggressive, and it just spread like wildfire. And I gotta say, I'm curious now with how issue 2 ends, what Leader 1 is going to choose to do. Issue 3 should be coming out soon, and I will eventually review that. But until then, that's all I have to say about the GoBots, and yeah,